In this example, I need to solve this problem here. Well, what type of problem is it? It has an equals in it, so it's an equation. And if you notice, it has a lot of denominators, so it's a rational equation. And how do we solve those? We need to find the least common denominator and then multiply every single term by the least common denominator to clear out our denominators. So what is the least common denominator? If you can look at these denominators and figure out what it is quickly, that's fine. I'm going to show you a systematic way of doing it if you can't. The best way of doing it is to factor all your denominators. 6 is 2 times 3. So this denominator is 2 times 3 times x. 2 you can't factor. 9 is 3 times 3. And 3x is already factored. So to find the least common denominator, you go to your first denominator, and you need all the factors in the first denominator. So I need 2 times 3 times x. You go to your next denominator. It's a 2. Do I already have one? Yes, I don't need another. Go to your next denominator, that is 3 times 3. Do I already have 3 times 3? No, I only have one 3, so I have to multiply by a second 3 to get my 9, which is 3 times 3. Lastly, do I have a 3 and an x? I already have a 3 and an x. So I found my LCD. It's 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18, so it is 18x. Now we need to find the restrictions. Those are the values that turn our denominator equal to 0. Those are the values that are not allowed as solutions. So you take your LCD and you set it equal to 0. So I get 18x equals 0. Well, 18 can't equal 0, so we know that x has to equal 0. So what's the restriction? It's x equals 0. That is the one value of x that cannot be a solution, because it will turn this denominator and this denominator into zeros, and you remember you cannot divide by 0. So now I've found the LCD, I'm going to multiply every single term, of which I have 4 terms, by the LCD. So I'm going to have 18x over 1 times my first term, which is 5 over 6x, minus 3 halves, times my LCD of 18x over 1, equals the LCD of 18x over 1 times my third term, which is negative 7/9, plus my last term, 8 over 3x times my LCD of 18x over 1. So now I'm ready to simplify. And on this first term here, my x's reduce, and 6 goes into 18 3 times, so I get left with 3 times 5 is 15, minus the 2 reduces into 18 9 times, so I get left with negative 3 times 9 is 27x, equals 9 reduces with the 18 2 times, so I get 2 times x times negative 7, which is negative 14x, plus on the last term, my x's reduce, 3 goes into 18 6 times, so I get 6 times 8 is 48. So multiplying by the LCD cleared all my denominators, and now I have a simple linear equation. I'm going to collect my x's on the left, so that means I'm going to have to add 14x to both sides. Remember, line up like terms. So I get 15. Negative 27x plus 14x is negative 13x, equals negative 14x plus 14x is 0, so I just get equal to 48 on the right. Now subtract 15 from both sides. 15 minus 15 is 0, so negative 13x equals 48 minus 15 is 33. Last step, divide both sides by negative 13. This isolates the x on the left-hand side, and since I'm running out of room, I'm going to have x equals, does anything reduce here? No, nothing reduces, so it's negative 33 over 13. And yes, don't panic, the answer can be a fraction. But before we're done, we have to compare it to the restriction. X cannot equal 0. So is x equals 0 here? No, so I have proved this is not extraneous. But to prove it's the correct solution, I have to plug this value in for x in the original equation here and here and see if I get a true statement.